Thanks for tuning in to another edition of the Business Fun Podcast. It's me, Dave Wakeman. My guest today is Derek Palmer, a returning guest. This time he is with Project Admission, and we are talking about what he is up to and what Project Admission has done during the pandemic. Before we get to Derek, though, let's talk about Booking Protect, the global leaders in refund protection. Data has shown that since tickets have gone back on sale, since the pandemic lockdowns have ended, refund protection has been taken up by customers about 30% of the time, maybe even a little more, in some instances as high as 70%. So check them out at bookingprotect.com. Find out how you can offer your guests peace of mind, which the data clearly shows is important to people, but also create a brand new stream of revenue for your organization. So that's www.bookingprotect.com. I have been going on and on and on about research here and in my Talking Tickets newsletter because it's super important. Earlier in the year, I created a worksheet with my friends at Eventellect that talks about Net Promoter Score. It's NPS, what it is, why it matters, and how to do it yourself. The Talking Tickets newsletter and the Business Fun Podcast had a 65. What's amazing is that Eventellect was extraordinary at 77. The scale goes from zero or minus 100 to a positive 100, where anything over zero is good. 65 and 77 are out of this world. So find out how you can do an NPS score survey of your very own by sending me an email, dave@davewakeman.com. I'll send you a copy of the worksheet. Check out the Talking Tickets newsletter, by the way. TalkingTickets.substack.com. 5 top stories, analysis and action items each week. It's free. It's the way I stay connected to everybody. This and the podcast are like my 2 big things to stay in touch and help teach people. So get on that. And then finally, I want to talk to you and make sure you check out my friends at ActivityStream. The new Activate email marketing platform has been a hit. If you haven't been communicating with your audience throughout the pandemic, there's no time like now to get started. The Activate email marketing tool will help you understand the messages to send, how to send them in a way that'll get people to respond, and it'll help you re-engage and reconnect with your audience. Marketing is going to be a key to recovery. Let ActivityStream help you. Check them out at www.activitystream.com. Now back to Derek. So Derek is the Chief Revenue Officer at Project Admission. We had Derek on before when he was at QQ. Now he's at Project Admission, and they has a new mission. And Project Admission is a really cool technology platform that helps people distribute tickets more effectively, is the simple answer. But we get into a conversation about how Project Admission actually helps go beyond distribution, and it helps people realize their strategy through data, through distribution, through branding opportunities, through partnership opportunities, the different ways that segmentation help you more effectively distribute your tickets. Brand identity, ease of use, the way it helps with group sales, the way it helps with individual sales, the way it helps you build standalone websites for different communities that might be part of your ticket buying universe. We talk about some of the challenges in the universe in the pandemic. We talk about friction in the sales process. We talk about price integrity. We talk about all kinds of stuff. I've had Stephen Glicken, the CEO, on. I've had Derek on before. I'm a fan of what Project Admission is doing. I'm a fan of Derek. So I think you're going to dig this conversation because it takes us in a new direction, and it helps focus not just on the Project Admission tool, but really on the entire recovery of the industry. So let me know what you think. And without anything else from me, here's me and Derek talking about tickets. All right, I want to welcome back my good pal, my good buddy, my partner in crime on several trips around the world, Derek Palmer, to the Business Fun Podcast. Derek, man, what's up?
Hey, Dave, how are you?
Oh, I'm hanging in there. Like I was telling you, I'm dragging today because this back to school thing in person is killing me. But other than that, I'm totally fine. I've managed not to get sick. I've managed to still stay above ground. So I'm totally winning during a pandemic, I think.
These are the bar has been set very low, and we're all doing okay getting over it.
Right. It's such a low bar, even I can clear it. That's a good way to start it. Now, I want to have you on today because there's two reasons. Number one, you started a new job with Project Admission, who everybody who listens to the podcast already has had a chance to hear Steven before, but you've worked on some new things. And then through the work you're doing at Project Admission, one of the and this I guess I'm saying this is season 3 of the podcast. But where we're focusing on ways that people can recover from the pandemic, revitalize their marketing and sales platforms, do all this stuff, get people back into seats, spending money, enjoying themselves again. So we're going to explore that through the nature of your new job, if you're cool with that, because why wouldn't you be? I sold you on this before I had you on. But let's start by talking about Project Admission and your new role. So what exactly are you doing besides talking to me on a podcast?
Sure. So season 3 is when you bring back the obscure characters from season 1 and try and tie them back into like the
That's exactly
pieces
right.
of the show. I'm like the weird cousin who's come back. Fantastic. I fit
That's
that
okay.
role
I'm like
really
the
well.
drunk uncle, so it's totally fine.
There you go. Yeah. So I mean, I was thinking about this before we got on here, but I've been really lucky in my career. I've worked with some incredibly smart people, and really all the companies I've worked for. But during the pandemic, I left QQ after being there for a short period of time, completely amicably. Still love those guys. Just things happen, and so I was lucky enough to reconnect with Stephen Glicken, as you said, the CEO of Project Admission, and he was telling me a lot about what they were doing, and it was just like, that's really fascinating, really interesting, and something I want to be a part of. And so, in a nutshell, what we're doing, and I'm the chief revenue officer, is we're trying to create innovative distribution strategies for rights holders that can leverage anything from digital storefronts to artists to brands to influencers, even leveraging things such as like physical assets to launch digital storefronts for distribution strategies. So again, it's trying to get as many tickets as wide as possible into people, making it very accessible, very clean, very easy, very modern to be able to both purchase and manage those interactions with the rights holders.
Yeah. And so a little bit, and I'll tell people, I'll show my hand a little bit before I ask you these questions, because the thing is like, and you know this, I have been a huge promoter of you and what you guys are doing. So when I ask these questions, it's not because I'm trying to be like, Derek, let me trip you up and make you look like a dummy. It would be more likely that Derek's going to trip me up and make me look like a dummy, but that's not hard. It's more like I want to, there's some confusion sometimes about, the nature of the technology and what it can do and like how it fills certain roles. So I'm going to ask some questions maybe in the angle that people might, I guess like they would be objections or concerns that people might have. And so let me start with this idea of distribution. I understand distribution. Everybody understands distribution, but then really a lot of times it comes down into maybe 4 or 5 different buckets, sort of like you got your primary deal, right? So like maybe you're with Ticketmaster or TDC or Audience View or whomever you're working with, SeatGeek. Then you have your secondary market. And then you think about like your promotional thing, which is like your stuff with Groupon. Did Groupon make it through the pandemic, or are they dead now?
I think they're still kicking around.
Yeah, they've been dead for 10 years in my mind, but that's because I don't like discounts. But you know how that goes. How does this sit in that mix, or does it add to things?
Yeah, great question. So, I mean, one of the things I like is that we kind of fill gaps in between all of those different parties that you just described. So the previous company that the founders had here was a company called Songkick, and a lot of people will remember them from being artist fan club sales and things like that. But one of the challenges was that created a lot of friction because they were taking seats off the manifest, and therefore the relationship with the primaries could not be great sometimes. And so I think the approach that we've taken with Project Admission is much more of being complementary from a technology standpoint. So we integrate directly with a lot of those parties to help manage the inventories that they're trying to get out there, and then obviously push back the data and the results of that stuff back to the actual database themselves. So for example, we are the only integrated group sales platform for SeatGeek. which has been an absolutely fantastic partnership. We've launched with a number of their clubs. We're live with the Arizona Cardinals of the NFL, the New Orleans Pelicans, the Cleveland Cavaliers, a number of their MLS teams and USL teams. So that's been fantastic, and it's really shown the benefit of having those integrations and not being kind of a competitive relationship in that space. And so by able to leverage that, we're able to push to any number of those distribution channels that you described. I mean, primarily we're very focused on creating extensions of the brands and the rights holders in the primary side, whether it's for discounts, promotions, and I said discounts again for you, promotions, upsells, donations, group sales, all of those different things. But as you know, I've said this previously, there's no limit to what a distribution channel can be. Whether you're pushing out to trying to leverage some of the secondary markets, or an organization like a Groupon or a Gold Star or things like that. To me, it's about being the technology that can interface and allow rights holders and clients to choose what they want to use. I mean, that's what it's all about.
Yeah. Besides the dirty D word discount that you use, I'm going to let that slide because, it'll cost you in beer the next time I see you, but that's totally cool. You mentioned group sales a lot, and I know that this is a challenge that you struggle with. But it's just group sales, right?
No, it's not just group sales. So
I told you I was like playing.
There's your one right there. No, it's interesting because, and this is prior to me joining the company, but as part of that relationship and integration with SeatGeek, there was an opportunity to really kind of lean in and solve some challenges in the industry, and some of them were just because of some functionality that clubs and clients have been looking for. Some, during the pandemic, unfortunately, some companies that have been providing some technologies had gone away, and people were really searching for replacements there. And so Project Ignition really kind of leaned in and said, hey, if we adapt this bit of focus, we become a pretty compelling group sales tool, plus all the other things that we do. The management of the distribution of the tickets, again, the being able to create and really allow clients an extension of their own clients to create on their own those types of storefronts and affiliate marketing programs is something that's been resonated really well in the market.
So, number one, the group thing came out of just being really. This is a trick question because I already know the answer. Came out of really being close to the market, understanding the market, and, for lack of a better term, doing good research on the market. Right? Or am I wrong?
Mm-hmm. No, okay, absolutely. It's identifying. Yeah, I mean, it's identifying a need, right? And whether that need is brought to you by someone who says, "I need this," or seeing the need and then seeing how you can adapt it. I mean, the key is, and again, one of the things that really impressed me in my initial discussions with this company was that they didn't really flail and go, oh, chase this and chase that during the pandemic. Mm-hmm. They really doubled down on what their core was from a technology standpoint and said, we're going to use this time to really invest in building our infrastructure, making sure that it's scalable and that we can iterate very easily. And that resulted in the ability to say yes to SeatGeek, right? And to say, yeah, we can do some work and deliver this, and that'll provide a great experience for your clients and their fans and all of that. And then, then it just goes again and again. I mean, we're about to complete our integration with tickets.com. We've had a number of conversations with baseball teams about use cases, not just around group sales, but other things that they're very interested in. And then we've got a litany of other integrations that we're going to focus on over the next couple of months, so that we can really be positioned to deliver to any vertical. I mean, there's nothing specific to sports, but the founders as I said, have a long relationship in rock and pop and music in general, and managing the relationships, and particularly I think the kind of street team concept of nightclubs and sheds and arenas fits well within what we can deliver, and so it's a really exciting time.
Oh yeah, that's one of the cool things is that, and we'll get into like how at least from my point of view, the project admission platform can, I think it ultimately helps deliver your strategy through the way you can create your 4Ps. But one thing that I found interesting, I'm not a technologist, right? But I do have a great appreciation for when technology doesn't work, or when technology is slow, or it's not functioning the right way, or all of the negative stuff, right? I just want my stuff to work, and I don't care about anything else. The cool thing is project admission is software. It is technology. But the great thing that makes the technology so cool, I think, and this is where I'm going to ask you the one tech question I'm probably going to ask you all day long, because this matters to people, because I think the way that I talked to Stephen about it made sense to me, is that it's fast, and it's flexible because it was built from the ground up. It's custom built just for this specific need and fit in the market. And that's kind of like the difference between a Windows PC and a Mac computer, whereas the Mac OS has always been rebuilt every year from the ground up, and Microsoft has somewhere buried in it, or always traditionally did, code from the very start. And that makes the tool more adaptable, more flexible, and just a better fit for people who aren't tech savvy and tech driven. Is that did I miss anything, or did I nail a good commercial for you?
Yeah, it's a pretty good one. I guess the one thing I would say is that while this specific use case, and where we've seen traction, particularly around groups and promotions, storefronts, and distribution, that approach is validated there, because we were able to build that very, as you said, to kind of fit hand in glove. But underneath the covers, what we've got is a really extensible platform, which allows us to iterate additional features. And so I will say the answer to your question is kind of, which is always helpful. But kind of, because if you look at the execution of the first kind of foray into our approach, I think we would say that we've been really, really successful. And now as we look to expand that and build on that, we will find that it's a lot less technical debt. There's a lot less focus that needs to be done on its kind of core plumbing, because we did it right from the beginning.
Mm-hmm. So it works. It works fast. Yeah. And it works seamlessly. That's the big point. Yeah. See, I can almost tee these things up now. And like with you, with technology answer, it's the same answer I give for people whenever they ask me a revenue or a marketing or strategy question. I go, it depends. It just depends. It always depends. So let me ask you this, because this, I think, is where it shows the power of what you're working on. It also helps people think through what they're doing now. Is how a platform like Project Admission helps people execute on their strategy. And maybe I don't know if this is actually going to work out this way or not, but maybe we'll walk through like how you explain it to people when they present questions like you. So or when they present questions like I'm going to ask you now. The first point that somebody's going to engage with you is at what part in their strategic journey? Is it something that they should be reaching out to you about at the very start, or is it more after they've already developed a strategy?
I think that, like most technology, particularly in the primary ticketing space, you're going to want to make some decisions early on in the cycle, because you need to understand what the capabilities of the technology is before you try to implement it, right? Too often people say, oh, well, I'm sure it does this, so I'm going to buy this technology to do this very specific case that I've already built out in my mind. And in reality, it may not do that. Or you may get down a path and realize it doesn't do exactly how you want. And you know what? That's okay. Not everything can necessarily deliver 100% of what you want, but you have to have kind of an eyes open approach to what your goals are and your accomplishment, or what you're hoping to accomplish, and have an actual strategy, which is something you and I talk about quite a bit. Is that people, very focused on, I need to press, these 3 buttons and get this output. Well, we don't have those 3 buttons, but I can get you the same output by doing something else. And it's like when people change ticketing systems, it's like, I need to change my ticketing system. And the first thing they say is it needs to do everything my old ticketing system used to do in the exact same way. Well, if you wanted that, you shouldn't have changed ticketing systems. You should have understood, what you were actually going for here. So what the value that we bring, hopefully, is we sit down and say, it goes back to the whole thing where people say, what's every organization's goal? To sell more tickets. And today that is, the case. But prior to the pandemic, there were organizations that say, I don't really need to sell more tickets. I need people to buy more merchandise. I need people to engage and come more often. I need people to, so there's different drivers of revenue that people are trying to attack. So what I think that we bring is, the ability to identify and to segment and to create a sense of community with groups, to be able to sell them, to be able to, potentially create those at in venue experiences, obviously to sell things like promotions and t-shirts and, help with donations and all of those things. But, as much as you dislike discounts tied to a relationship with a brand that is a sponsor, right? So I've got State Farm as a sponsor of the Arizona Cardinals, and perhaps State Farm employees get 10% off. I'm making this up here, but whatever it is. And then State Farm feels like that's a value to the relationship and to the expense that they put out to that sponsorship to the Cardinals. So we're a tool that allows those conversations that can create those types of conversations of how end people can interact with not just your brand as the club or the team, but your brand partners who are critical to in the whole ecosystem.
Okay. And so when you're, how do I want to put this? I guess I'll deal with the discount thing. And so because this discount thing keeps coming up here. And actually I think people misunderstand. There's a way of looking at this. I would tell State Farm, don't offer a don't offer a discount, just offer a special price on the tickets. That would be so you take that one with you. But what I really am curious about too is, so it sounds like the earlier people can approach you, the better off they are, because it allows them to take that step back, right, and diagnose what their real challenges that they want to tackle are, right? Understand, like, hopefully they've done research like you did. They're looking at the market. They have some smart objectives. So when you get to the strategic execution, right? The classic marketing 4 Ps. Distribution's like a no-brainer right here, because like you said, like and I want to ask about this because some of the case studies and some of the examples that I know about are pretty cool, right? Where it's like, you can have a sponsor or an influencer or a partner and they can create their own landing page, which I know it's like pretty normal in like most industries, but in tickets, it's always been like a little bit more difficult to do, which is really unfortunate, but also it provides a great opportunity. How do you counsel people though? Because you can go whatever way you want to. As far as, do you start in a specific order with the 4 Ps? Do you start with like the, distribution first, or the pricing first, promotion? Where do you start?
It depends. No, I mean, seriously, it does depend on the organization, what they're trying to accomplish. I mean, the nice thing is that being able to sit down in those conversations and have the toolkit in front of you and those tools and really have the conversation, get to know what they're trying to accomplish, and then say, okay, what I heard was this, and based on that, I think we should prioritize that, right? Mm-hmm. And oftentimes, people think it's one thing and it actually turns out to be another. And the really smart organizations are the ones that know, again, I know where I'm trying to go, whether that's a number or percentage or whatever it is, but I'm open-minded as to how I get there. And if you can say to them, I know you think that the best way to do that is to, expand this program that you've been doing for year on year and year and year and year. And maybe it is, but have you considered this? And if you can get organizations that are forward thinking and leveraging other technologies and looking at other things that are out there and even looking in other industries, that's a great partner for us, because we've got, some really great ideas. But yeah, like you said about being self-service, I mean, that's a key component, is that when organizations want to create these very bespoke, detailed storefronts, I completely understand why a primary ticketing company is not going to invest a ton of resources in developing that, they don't make any more money off of that. I mean, they're very focused on the relationship, the on sale and all, the big stuff. But if you've got smaller players, they're willing to say, but there's value in those individual relationships that you've got there, and I can deliver it at a reasonable cost, and you get reasonable value out of it. It's worth doing. And so, we joke, but we've got almost like the Girl Scout cookie model, where the organization creates a landing page and a promotion for Girl Scouts of America, and then from there they can create group leader pages for the individual troops. And then from there, if they wanted, they could create individual Girl Scouts or the parents of the kid of the Girl Scout, so that when they're sending around links or sharing that through social channels or with grandpa and the schools and different things like that, there's a relationship and connection to that endpoint that says, oh yeah, I want to buy tickets from Josie because I want to support her. But in reality, that's all rolling back up into the overall, Girl Scouts of America promotion or whatever promotion that the organization's put out there. But you can also do some really cool things. Sorry, just one other thing about rewarding people, right? So we work with, the Chicago Red Stars, which is an NWSL team. And one of the things that they have is they've got a lot of minority owners. And what they talked about was, I'm not sure if they've actually done this, but creating almost like a competition between them to see how many tickets they can sell to individual games. And so they create, storefronts of themselves or their other businesses or other interests. And then they can, sit at the board meeting and say, hey, look who did this month, or look who did that. And that stuff I think is fantastic.
Yeah, I was going to say too, because this stuff, the first reaction I know that most people give you is, my God, that must take a ton of coding time or a ton of developer time. And it's actually set up so that it's like, once you have installed the technology, you can just do it yourself, right? Like you get trained up on it and it just runs with it. Or did I miss something?
No, you're spot on. We've got literally, clients right now, they're running hundreds of storefronts at one time. And we set them up, once. Obviously, there's some training there. What I like to do, and this is just because I'm a little old school in this regard, is we try and sit down and say, what are the top 2 to 3 or 4 to 5 promotions that you're going to run during the year. There's usually like some youth group activation, a sports team. There's like theme nights like Pride Night or Latino night or something like that. And then you've got 2 that are could be driven by discounts or first responders or different things like that. And say, okay, let's set these 4 or 5 up together, make sure that they're all good to go, and that's much easier for them to just replicate those and change out logos and do things like that. But as far as like just building from from scratch, and one of the nice things from an integration standpoint, again, is you don't need to allocate tickets to us. So what we can do is you can, if you want to make sure those people sit all in one section, for example, but we can also pull from opens or the concept of available seats, and you can have multiple allocations or multiple obviously open seats available in multiple storefronts. So maybe you've got a game that or an event that you really are struggling, and so you want to create as many offers as possible, put them all out there, but they're really pulling all from the same bit of inventory. So no matter where it sells, that's good for you. And you can then use that to track where that sale came from. So you can say, hey, you know what? The firefighters, they I almost said they're killing it, but that sounds terrible. But they really nailed that promotion, whereas the dog catchers didn't do nearly as well. Let's try and cultivate those relationships.
The dog catchers were dogs.
They're dogs. Couldn't sell fleas.
They couldn't sell fleas. So everything kind of gets wound in there, right? And so, and does that include things like, even the pricing? Like, are you involved? Like, does the data that you capture and the data you share back and forth, how much of an impact does that have on pricing? Because Lord knows we've hit the D word a couple times, but I'm more concerned now as like things start to come back more and more about helping people reestablish a bit of, just stability in their prices, right? Like, not just price integrity, just stability, because everything's like all over the place, and people have been trained to like wait till the last minute. People had, they've had the value of the product undermined. there's like so many bad things that have been happening, and and a lot of it flows through price, because price is where the relationship between you and the customer comes together, and you capture some of that value. So like, how important, or how does that, the data you have and you capture and you share, how is it helpful to help people reestablish that price integrity, that price, stability in their pricing?
So, obviously in my previous life where at QQ, price was almost everything. And I'm still a firm believer in dynamic pricing. I think it provides some real important intelligence to organizations and guidance as to how you price the products that are out there. You don't always have to listen to them, because you can have a different strategy. And again, one of the benefits, I think, of working with a company like that, we ingest prices from the primary. So if a company were working with a dynamic pricing company, we would ingest whatever they had recommended or accepted there. We're not doing any of that manipulation ourselves. So where we add this value, I think, in the scenario that you're describing, is the results, right? Okay, so if I set up these programs and I had a theory about pricing in this section, this venue, this event, I can tell you, what the result of that was. And let's say for A, you did a discount. For event B, the exact same thing. Maybe you offered a T-shirt or a bundle or something like that. And that's where I think it gets interesting, being able to say, what is the variable that kind of moved the needle on that? Was it the price? Was it the offer? Was it when we did it? Was it who we offered it to? Did we just find out that this section is perfect for millennials, or is this section best for people that have purchased multiple times, for all those different things that you can drive back to from a data point. And again, that's the key to being integrated, is that pushing all that data back, because we're just a sales channel, or in some cases many sales channels. But the reality is that you want to put that data in with your other data and roll that up and say, okay, now holistically, what did we learn about this event? And that's why if you're just taking seats off the inventory or off the manifest, you don't know what the impact truly is, because did people buy tickets from us because of us, or because that's the only way that they could get those tickets? If they would have been available through the box office, would they have bought them, or another channel? And so, that's again leaning back on the technology to say, let's present as much data and as many use cases as possible, so that organizations can make smart decisions.
No, and again, in the way that I'm asking questions, like I try to I don't know the answers. Well, one of the reasons I ask the question like that is because something I think people really need to spend a lot more time on now. They probably should have been doing it before, but it is in the experimentation, right? And using a technology, the way like you described here, it does allow you to experiment, like in small places, right? Because like you said, dynamic pricing is totally a great tool, but it must fit into your strategy, right? It's not a wave a magic wand and everything goes away solution. It's the same thing as like if you're discounting heavily, that's a sign that you probably don't have a strategy, in my opinion. And that's held up over the years, so I'm going to stick with it. But I've seen like there's a team in Major League Baseball that they priced like they did a promotion in a specific section. And it was like specifically for college kids, and it worked really, really well. And then they were able to test the promotion for the college kids, and then they were also able to track the per caps per kid that came into the thing. And it was like actually ended up, because college kids drink beer, higher than average. but using technology like that, you can experiment all kinds of things, because you could be running, in theory, you could have the firefighters in one section, you could have the policemen over in another section, you could have the dog catcher somewhere in center field, and I could tell you for sure that the firefighters and the policemen are going to drink more beer than the dog catchers. But you could see who was going to drink more, and
so
I think
another
that's a really
extension,
important way of looking at that.
So another extension to that, and this is something I'm really interested in, I'm dying to get someone to do this, is we create with partners around the arena, around the ballpark. So let's say you've got like 2 bars. Again, baseball is a great example of this. So there's lots of, near the ballpark places where you go, and you create these promotions at the individual bars where people can come in and they're having a good time. And then while they're there, they can also purchase tickets. Like, one of the things that Stephen likes to say, which is funny, is COVID has done one of the things that nobody thought could ever be done, which is make QR codes relevant again. And so the idea is that, you go into a restaurant and you scan in, now you've got your menu and you're doing all these things. It's like, okay, so what if there's a coaster, and on that coaster it says, hey, scan here to buy tickets to the ball game. Oh, that's interesting. I can do that. Hey, it's branded in bar A. It's got, special offer for me. If I, it says if I go to the game, I'll get, a free T-shirt next time I come back. There's a retargeting opportunity there. And then, oh, by the way, you've got the exact same promotion running at the bar down the street. And whichever bar sells more tickets or does something, maybe they get an upgrade to a party suite for a game, or maybe all the employees get to go to batting practice, or any of those things that you do. And so you just start thinking about it, in so many different ways, and so many people that can participate in the promotion. And the way that you can incentivize them can be so incredibly personal and at the moment, which is the key. I mean, a lot of these things you do before, it's like, oh, I got something in my confirmation email, or I got, even a text walking out, and that's great. But if I'm sitting there and I'm watching the game I couldn't go to because it's sold out, and something fantastic happens, and I'm like, man, I gotta go. And I go, hey, here's an opportunity, a call to action right now. That's the people that you want to capture. And those are the things I'm super, super excited about. Like I said, that's not group sales, right? These are the things that we're doing that I think are really about engagement, downstream revenue, identity, segmentation, all the things that people need to be doing.
Well, it sounds like too, and this is like probably outside the scope of this conversation, but it really, that I'm a fan of the idea of long-term brand building and the power that it creates to make more money for you over time, as opposed to like buying on Facebook ads, which is just really last click attribution. It's like if you're doing in like specific spot promotions like this, it has a chance to capture the value of both the long and the short at the same time, because you're at the sports bar. So obviously maybe you are a fan of the Nationals, right? Or like the Phillies, or, baseball is a great example, or English soccer, right? Like, can you imagine, like, you could do it with that? I didn't even know there was tickets available, but my God, there's this thing sitting here, right? I love them. Let me see if there's tickets. And we all know that there's a lot of times tickets get released at the last minute. Bang! All of a sudden you have these last minute sales that you might not have captured otherwise. If done well, I think it could be very powerful.
Or you're in the city that you're on a business trip. Remember those? There used to be business trips. But you're sitting in a business trip and you're like, what am I going to do tonight? And you're at a hotel and you go down. You remember there used to be, like in New York, you've got the concierge who's got the, who needs theater tickets, who needs all these things, and got all the brochures and all that stuff. What's stopping you from walking up and just take a picture of what's on tonight? And you get a list of events that have tickets available for them. And you're all of a sudden you're walking down the street as you're closing your transaction, and boom, you've got a barcode and you walk right in.
Yeah. Despite the sales pitch that people are making, that discovery and knowledge of an event is not the most the thing holding people back. Every bit of research I've ever done or seen actually says that people not knowing something's happening nearby stops them from going the most. And again, the QR code was dead and buried. And now it's like everywhere.
And again, that's just an example. I mean, there's any media that you could use. It's just one that I think translates really easily, because I went to dinner last night and literally scanned that to get my menu, and I was like, interesting.
But that's it all plays, I'm looking at it through the project admission lens, but it all plays in because you can drive it back to people's phone or to the technology. And it just gives people I'm both, I'm somewhere in the middle on most things. I think it's like with distribution, you don't want to have your tickets everywhere, because then it makes it look like your event's not popular, right? Or you do run that danger, but you do want to make your inventory accessible to people, so that like people when they do go, oh my God, I didn't even know that. A great example is one time I was driving through Cleveland, Ohio, when I was in like 24, and Michael Jordan was playing for the Wizards. And I said, oh my God, I saw the arena, and I was like, well, man, if Michael Jordan's playing, I'm totally going to go. and I pull, we go and we go, who are the Cavaliers playing? They're like, the Wizards. We're like, we're freaking going. How many times could that happen? You don't know. I mean, because there's no good way to capture that. But the thing is like, it happens more likely or more often than you think it does. And if you have a way that's like branded, that's controlled to put people in a spot where they can buy the ticket, it makes that purchase because it lessens the friction.
It's all about
completely
it's
wrong.
the fundamental, right? Right offer, right person, right time, right price.
Yeah, the execution of the 4 Ps is how you deliver your strategy. Have I missed anything that's important here today? Because I think we've talked about technology. We talked about how easy it is to use, right? We've talked about how flexible it is. We've talked about how it allows you to execute your 4 Ps, which is just the expression of your strategy. Have I missed anything? Oh, we also talked about branding a little bit. I hit like a lot of topics today. Jeez, man. For somebody who's like worn out, I'm doing all right here.
I didn't give you any crap about Spurs, so I kind of missed out on that. But
wait, what? You're breaking up on me here. Yeah. I didn't hear
that. No, I really welcome the opportunity to come and talk about. I love this stuff. I love, I find in this period of time, a lot of smart people, a lot of good people are talking to each other. And they're willing to talk about different things and be open about them and open about challenges. And I think that's fantastic. Haven't been in this, business for a long time. Anyone that adds value to the ecosystem and delivers value for, venues or the fans and things like that, I'm a huge fan of. And like I've said, I think even last time I was on here, I'm happy to, have a chat with anyone about that, because I believe there's still nothing better in the world than live entertainment. And those of us who, work even in a small way to deliver that, I think, it's a unique group of individuals. And we certainly found that in the last year when we all got, the whole spigot turned off, and there was, some really horrifying situations. But, we are a resilient group, and we persevere.
Yeah, I would tell people, number one, it's like always look for how you can add value, right? That's like the most important thing. Number two is as depressing and as bad as like the last 18 months or so have been, keep in mind that people have been going to live events since the Roman Empire or before, right? As long as they've been able to. So people will come back. The one area I would challenge people is like, don't expect things to be the same as they were before. Look for what's next. It's not a new normal. It's it's not normal, and we don't know what it's going to be. So try as you might, keep yourself from making assumptions based on what has always worked, because I've done so much research and so much reading and so much study on the thing. It's like, I feel like we were at the end of a cycle in tickets no matter what. But I think just as a we were at one of those historical inflection points where things are going to shift and change. You're going to need to be flexible and adaptable to be prepared for what's next, which I don't have any idea what it is. But I hope it does include a bar with you at some point.
I look forward to that too, my friend. I miss that. I miss that a lot.
Yeah. So now where can people find you on the internet? Because we got to plug some stuff. I mean, I feel like we've done a pretty decent job of plugging, but we at least plug you a little more plugs before we go.
Sure. So, I mean, Project Admission, obviously we've got our site out there. It's got a little bit on it. Some case studies we'll be adding to that now that we're getting through some cycles of live clients. I'm Derek at projectadmission.com. Twitter at Derek Tix, DerekTixx. Anyone who follows me knows I generally don't talk about work that much, although I've done it more recently. I more moan about professional and college sports and talk about my kids. But I do enjoy the occasional chat about the industry. And I'm in Austin if you happen to come by. I'll meet you at the one-eyed was a mean-eyed cat downtown.
Yeah, there is a strong push for me to come to Austin in the near term.
I saw that.
There is a strong push for a Dave Wakeman appearance in Austin, which I may have to fulfill. So
please do. You're welcome at any time.
Well, thank you so much for doing the podcast, man.
Anytime.
All right, let me know what you thought of my conversation with Derek Palmer by sending me an email. It is my name, Dave at davewakeman.com. Make sure you visit the new and improved davewakeman.com website. Get the Talking Tickets newsletter at talkingtickets.substack.com. Make sure you check out my friends at Booking Protect. Like I told you at the start of the program, the amount of customers taking up refund protection has grown tremendously. It's up to about a third of customers taking up refund protection. That's a clear indication that people want peace of mind in their ticket purchases now. As an added bonus to you, it also can help you create a brand new stream of revenue. So check them out at bookingprotect.com and find out how you can offer your guests peace of mind and create a new revenue stream for yourself. Make sure you check out my NPS worksheet that I created in partnership with my friends at Eventellect. Both organizations, mine and Eventellect's, understand the importance of market research. Net Promoter Score is a simple way for you to figure out how you're doing in your customers' eyes. In the intro, I told you about Eventellect's 77 score, which is unbelievable. Talking Tickets and the Business of Fun get a 65, which is also pretty good. Find out how you can use 3 questions to survey your market, get some really meaningful quantitative and qualitative research done, and apply it to your business by getting the worksheet. You can get it by sending me an email, dave@davewakeman.com, and I'll hook you up. And then finally, check out my friends at ActivityStream. They've created a brand new email marketing platform called Activate, and it will help you re-engage with your audience. It will help you understand the messages to send now. It'll help you understand how to communicate and get the most out of your email marketing campaigns, on top of helping you create magic moments, right, which we haven't had a chance to talk about or have a lot lately. So check them out, activitystream.com. As always, thank you so much for being here. The numbers on the podcast are still unbelievable when I post episodes, so thank you so much for listening. If you need me, don't hesitate to reach out. It's Dave@davewakeman.com. And until next time, take it easy.